the news, and a lot more. The Natasha Hall Show on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
So something you used to do every single day of your life is becoming a lost art. When's the last time you wrote a letter to someone? A handwritten letter. When's the last time you used cursive to write anything, even a grocery list? Well, Samantha Kemp-Jackson wrote an article for the Huffington Post on why we should mourn the death of cursive writing. She describes herself as parenting writer, blogger, public speaker, senior communications pro, media spokesperson, and opinionated mom of many. She even has a website called Multiple Mayhem Mamma, and she joins us now. Hi, Samantha.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. I loved your description on HuffPost of everything that you do. How many kids?
That's me.
That is you. I mean, that's pretty impressive. How many kids are we talking?
We're talking 4.
Whoa.
And 4 in 4 different decades, too. So
Yep.
I've got a range, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. You've got it covered.
I've done it all, yes.
I was going to say, here we say you're making a hockey team, but if you've got one in every different age, you've got one in every different league, I guess, from
Maybe
Pee-wee.
we're doing hockey and golf. Who knows?
There you go. Okay, so in this article, you were saying all things must come to an end, and the desire to learn to write literally has all but disappeared from our cultural conscience. So, Samantha, why does it matter?
I think it matters because there are so many things that we learn through writing. And I think that just in terms of being able to express ourselves, being able to focus, being able to really put pen to paper literally and figuratively does a lot for our mind, and it does a lot for our manual dexterity. And it's something that we don't do very much. You know, I teach part-time as well, and in my class yesterday, I had a test, and my students actually had to write because you can't have a computer or a laptop or an iPhone or a cell phone with you.
Right.
And it was actually quite difficult for all of them. They all bemoaned the fact that they actually had to write this test just like we used to do back in the day.
The olden days. And you get the cramps. Remember, you'd be writing so furiously, you'd get cramps in
Yeah.
your hands and that little swollen bit on your middle finger.
Absolutely. And I just think that, you know, there's a different process that occurs when we're actually taking literal pen to paper. I think that the connection between our mind, our brain, our thoughts, our feelings, and the actual physical paper with the pen or the pencil makes a huge difference in terms of how we convey our feelings and also how our feelings are conveyed to the external world. It's not the same as typing.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm realizing, so that coming up a little later in the show, we're going to be talking about internet trolls and how it's just become, it's pervasive in our society now.
Yes.
And you're making me think in saying that it is so much easier. There's something more anonymous and less personal about just clanking around on a keyboard rather than taking pen to paper.
And I think that, if you think of writers of the past, I mean, modern technology has allowed us to have a computer and texting. And previous to that, we had typewriters. But previous to that, things were written. And if you think of, the great literature that has been done in days gone by, that was all done by hand. And I wonder if whether or not that had a huge impact positively in terms of the great writing that came out of, the 1700s, the 1800s, and beyond.
Well, it's sort of the expression, like I'm thinking about someone who's painting a picture and the movement of your hand. And when you're writing, you have to actually take pen to paper. There's something more expressive about that.
Yes, it's very expressive. It's not dissimilar to if you're playing an instrument, if you're playing a piano, if you're playing a guitar or a violin. You'll notice that the person who's actually executing the instrument or playing the tune is often moving with their instrument or moving with even somebody who's sitting at a piano. If you've watched, piano virtuosos, they move with the piano while they're playing, while they're emoting. And I think that happens as well with writing pen to paper. So I think we should bring it back. That's a long way of saying I think we should bring it back.
No, I think we should bring it back too. And I think that, our abilities to express ourselves and really be more thoughtful about how we're expressing ourselves, I think that plays in there. Although, I want to know what you think about this, Samantha. So, you talked about manual dexterity and that children are, using a keyboard, so they're learning that kind of fine motor skills. But it's not the same as in cursive. No. But it's still good. It's like with video games and stuff, like there still can be a skill that can be learned. There's still hand motor skills, fine motor control. Is it not as valid that it's just a matter of evolution, that we're getting more with the times?
I think it's apples and oranges. I think it's six of one, half a dozen of another, and I don't think they're necessarily the same thing or mutually exclusive. So I think that, yes, you can learn and become proficient with manual dexterity through video games and, typing and that type of thing. But I think that the type of dexterity that one acquires through the mind, hand, written action is a lot different from typing or playing a video game. And I do think that there's definitely value to it. I find myself, I've grown up in an age where, when I was a kid and when I was at school, even when I was at university, I was writing things out. And now that I rarely write things, I usually type them on my laptop. Something is lost. I feel like I'm not as creative in some capacity, or perhaps I'm not as focused. So I think that definitely there's a place for technology, and I'm certainly, as somebody who writes for a living, I'm certainly not naysaying against the digital way of doing.
Well, because it's a lot more efficient, right? Essentially,
it's a lot more efficient, absolutely. But I think that we should bring it back to schools, because I'm quite saddened by the fact that my three youngest kids, I've got 7-year-old twins and I've got a 13-year-old. Those are the three younger ones, and they're not learning cursive in school. They're not learning it.
That was going to be one of my questions. Was how are your children's handwriting? Or do you make a concerted?
Not very good.
Okay, and so we're talking to Samantha Kemp-Jackson, who wrote an article for Huffington Post about the death of cursive writing. Samantha, do you make a concerted effort every day to you do something handwritten?
No, I don't. I would love to lie and say, but I don't. Life gets in the way, and life dictates that. They've got actual homework that needs to be done, and yes, they do some writing with that. But I don't sit down and make them write the lines out like we used to do, but way back when, where you practice writing a capital S and a small S and that type of thing. I don't do it with them, and the fact that it's been taken away from the educational institutions means that they're getting very little of that ability to know how to write. And the sad thing is, my sons, the twin boys, they've said to me before, "Oh, Mommy, how can you understand what that writing is?" So they've seen me read cursive writing, and they don't understand how I can discern or decipher what it says, because they don't have that eye to even look at it and to be able to figure out what it says. Some of the stuff they can't discern.
You know what I'm remembering?
They haven't grown up with that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that brings, because kids, you also touch on the fact that kids are learning from parents that they mimic us, right? And so if we're on our computers and our keyboards all the time, of course they don't have that example to follow.
Absolutely.
You also made me think, Samantha, when you were talking about this is something we used to do all the time. It was also a form of punishment. Do you remember?
Yes, it was, right. I will not be late for school. I will not be late for school.
Yes, I will not talk back, or I will, it was, I will not pinch so-and-so, or, that was the punishment. So I don't know, maybe we have to just accept that this is the next step. It's evolution, and it's the times changing.
Well, I don't know. As it's been said in the news lately, and I won't refer to what, resist. I think that we should resist, and we should fight back, and we should say, you know what, we need to bring this back to the schools, because there is definitely value in it, and writing and typing are not mutually exclusive. We can do both.
All right. Well, let's start with ourselves. I think that's a good starting point.
Yes.
And I love that you admitted that, Samantha, that you're like, no, I don't do it.
Yes.
Where would you find the time anyway with everything that you're doing? Thank you for your time today, Samantha.
Thank you, Natasha. It's been great.
Oh, you were just awesome. Samantha Kemp-Jackson, who has a website called Multiple Mayhem Mamma, amongst the 14,000 other things she's doing on top of being a mom of 4. Hey, coming up, are you an online troll and don't even know it? How the internet has become a steroid for hatred. That's after your news with Jason Mayoff here on CJAD 800.